Nächster Programmpunkt, sehr interessant für Menschen, die sehr alte Firmen haben, wahrscheinlich nicht ganz so alt wie IWF, International Watch Company, 150 Jahre alte Marke, 1868 in der Schweiz gegründet. Und wie man alte Marken durch den Zeitgeist führt, klärt uns jetzt der CEO von IWC, Chris Grainger. Herzlich willkommen.
Well, good morning. My name is Chris Grainger. I'm the CEO of IWC, and we just heard it, that we are apparently an old brand. But an old brand of 150 years doesn't mean that we're a stale brand. But with our title, From Manufaktur to Metaverse, we are trying to say, how do we balance today a brand that makes mechanical luxury watches, an extremely analog, 100% mechanical product, which in its essence does exactly the same job as it did 1868, 154 years ago, with a world today that is dominated by the digital, dominated by the transient, and dominated by trend. How do we navigate those two worlds? Now, who are we? We are based in Schaffhausen in Switzerland, a small town in the east of Switzerland, founded by an American founder, and we've been making mechanical watches with an engineering spirit for now over 150 years. And we're unique because we have an American founder, Florentine Ariosto Jones, that brought the idea of functional watchmaking, of engineering, to the heart of Switzerland. And today, we are known really for two things. On the one hand, chronographs, functional watches for aviation, for diving, for navigating, and of course for racing. And on the other hand, robust performance materials, ceramics, titanium, and everything that makes our watches a whole lot tougher. What is this all for? Why today do we need to invest so much of our innovation, our creativity, as David said just now, the cultural curation into a product that we don't need to tell the time? Because let's face it, we don't need a mechanical watch today to know what time it is and where we are in the world. No, what it is today is emotion. It's the emotion that a luxury product brings that really, really elevates and speaks to the community of our clients. And then I want to look at just a quick excursion. What is actually a luxury product? What defines luxury? Well, in a traditional sense, it's very, very simple. A luxury product was made by a craftsperson to a very high design standard, a very high craft standard. It was expensive, and it was ultimately exclusive. And that was really what luxury stood for. And over time, that changed massively, because over time, the luxury industry grew, the customer base grew, and really these products took on a whole new meaning. And today, there's a whole range. It starts with products that ultimately are just defined by the value of the product itself. Think about a big piece of jewelry, a huge diamond ring. It is just the value of the product that makes it perfectly clear to everybody that this was expensive. But then it goes beyond. There are things like, if you look at a Leonardo da Vinci painting, yes, it's beautifully painted, it's beautifully crafted, but over time, Leonardo developed a name. And today, if I say to any of you, Leonardo da Vinci, you will know that this is more than just a nice painting. It is a brand. If you're buying a big artist, if you're buying a Damien Hirst, if you're buying a Van Gogh, you know that this is a brand. It becomes more than just the painting itself. And then, of course, today, when we look at where we are in the art space today, there are things that talk much more about the brand and the symbolism than the content of the crafting, the artisanship, the pure art of the NFT itself. And today, when we look at many of those brands in the art space, it is the symbolism, it is the meaning within the piece, within the brand that speaks to people more than the product itself. And this is what I'm trying to say. In timeless luxury, there was a point in the middle of the 19th century when there was a transition from purely talking about a finely made product to something referred to as brand. And this concept was not new in 1850. One of the oldest brands I can introduce you to, we all know very well, for example, in the Western world, the Catholic Church. It's a value system, it's a brand, and always at the heart of every brand is a promise. A promise, in many cases, of a better life. Salvation, in the case of the church, is even eternal life. It's the forgiving of all of your sins. And then there's some elements around that that define the shared values of a community ultimately represented by this brand. So first of all, there's a prophet or CEO or a chief ambassador. This could be the Pope, but you think about Apple, it's Steve Jobs, people like Mark Zuckerberg. They're ultimately the prophets of a brand. Then there are institutions around it. There are physical manifestations, churches, flagship stores, big exhibitions. There's mass gatherings and events like this one, store openings, big concerts, cultural events. And then there are representatives of the system. Think about the priests and nuns, but think about store ambassadors, people that represent systems like the state, even police people. There are great similarities. And this idea of having shared values and a shared code of symbolism, and this idea of belonging to something and differentiating against something else is as old as humanity is itself. And brands, as David just explained, have built on that over time to turn this into a commercial property that speaks to people. And the principle is always there needs to be a manifestation of the brand in the real world, and there's communication in advertising and media to the masses, and then there's individual interaction. That is the brand relationship. And of course, at IWC, we do this in exactly the same way. We have our global advertising campaign. We need to make sure we're globally present as we are here at OMR this year. And then on top of that, we of course have the manifestation of our stores, of our retailers, of our events, and the individual relationship that exists between our colleagues and you as clients. And this is ultimately what people, as David explained, in luxury are looking for. It becomes emotion, it becomes an experience, it becomes a personal relationship, and in the end, the process of buying a product is only the expression of the ritual of celebrating a relationship between brand and customer. And that is really where it all comes down to this entertainment element. It is all about the entertainment a brand provides that is ultimately ritualized through the purchase of a product. But we don't buy these products anymore for functional reasons. We buy them for the emotional value, for the symbolism, and for the self-expression that a product can carry that we don't have otherwise. And how has this changed in recent years? We've seen a huge acceleration in the pandemic that, of course, what used to be mainly physical in events and stores is now digital, in the sense of happening mainly on our smartphones. And the whole process of taste-making today is primarily driven by social and primarily driven by our individual mobile devices. We've seen a huge macro trend of casualization. Luxury has become massively more casual in recent years. On top of that, of course, one of the important things is instant recognizability. You all know this from the big influencers in the world. Today, it is not about necessarily hyper-differentiation. The key to a successful luxury product today is instant recognizability and really this icon that people can immediately identify with that then often exists in thousands and thousands of different versions. And I believe fundamentally that this is the feed logic of social media, the feed logic of Instagram, that now requires us to be able to recognize what somebody's wearing on their wrist, on their feet, what car they're driving in split seconds. And often, this becomes the main driver of the social calendar today. I'm talking about that in just a minute. And then, of course, all the brands today, you need to have big, bold visibility. This is an overview of what we did at IWC last year as part of our global big pilot campaign, bringing that message to every city and out of home and exhibition roadshows. And I invite you all to come over to the other hall and see the IWC roadshow here as well. And then in the brand arsenal today, it's taking those icons and really refreshing them time after time with new themes, new colors, and collaborations. And what happens is that in this entertainment rhythm, we create a constant reason to buy another product. I mean, many of you will relate to that. You probably don't need another pair of sneakers, but when you open your wardrobe or your closet, you find you have about 40, 50, 200, 600 of them, because every time there's a new collab, a new reason to buy, we're getting people to buy into the same icon over and over again in new variations that are based on the principle of entertainment. And finally, it's platforms. Every big event, every social calendar event today becomes a platform as a shopping festival. This is something that's relatively new, but which I really observed over the last 2 years, that whether you look today at the Oscars, or you look at a big Formula One race, or you look at the presidential inauguration of Joe Biden, it is only partly about the content of the event. It is really very much about what are people wearing in the front row, what shoes, what watches, what jewelry, what bags. That is really the talk of town, and where the platform delivers a massive reach on basically branded content. You remember the situation when Joe Biden was inaugurated in Washington. Probably not many of you remember what he said during that speech, but many saw that there was a pair of Dior Nikes in the second row and somebody of Barack Obama's family that everybody spotted. Similarly, the Oscars, if I ask you who won the Oscar this year for Best Screenplay, you probably don't remember, but everybody remembers the slapping incident. So it's about that social media recognizability and the consumption speed with which we can take these messages on board. And what we did, for example, in Miami at the Grand Prix is to use really a whole city takeover, huge advertising campaign with the appearance of Lewis Hamilton, with a new product launch of our iconic pilot's chronograph, reinterpreted for Miami, and then use the platform to generate the reach. And then all you need on top of that is that perfect press moment that you can't ever plan. But when Lewis obviously stepped out in Miami for the press conference wearing free watches in protest against the jewelry ban, you had an immediate global media reach. And again, the talk of town then became jewelry and watches, and not so much more whether Charles Leclerc or Max Verstappen were ultimately winning the Grand Prix. And the way that luxury works has changed, again, massively over the last 10 years. There's 3 main phases of how we consume products. I really think that the phase up to the first big financial crisis was all about newness. There were millions of brands that popped onto the scenes that were selling products at super high price points. Classic example for me was Vertu, a concept that was fatally flawed. I hope I don't offend anybody who used to work for Vertu, but it was a luxury mobile phone that tried to bring the timelessness of luxury into the device sector, into communications, and they charged tens of thousands of euros for Nokia mobile phones, and of course that didn't last over time. Then, with the uncertainty of all of the crises, we entered a second phase, which was the vintage phase. Everything was direct re-editions of past originals. Maybe the Onitsuka Tiger Trainer is one of those examples, and everybody was backwards looking because that past seemed somewhat more comfortable, it seemed somewhat more attainable, reliable, and aspirational than the uncertain present that people were facing. And now we're in a new phase, and I call that phase the phase of the recoil. And it really shows exactly the point that David was making, that the entertainment industry and the consumer and luxury industries are really coming together. Why is that? When you think about the big franchises in entertainment, you can't reboot those franchises completely anymore. Fans will not accept if a movie is completely rebooted from scratch. But similarly, the fans don't accept if somebody goes back and makes an exact sequel or an exact copy of the original film. What you need today is taking an original, iconic moment that many people relate to, Ghostbusters, Jurassic Park, Top Gun, Star Wars, whatever you want to take as an example. You have a continuity in storyline, you have new elements, new characters, combined with legacy characters, and you make sure that you have a new expanded universe. And then that expanded universe gets broken down into more and more formats, from movie theaters and big movie releases every 3-4 years, to streaming platforms where you need series like The Mandalorian, which can give you new episodes every week, all the way down to TikTok, to Instagram Reels, and all of those formats that need high frequency and high entertainment value with known original content. And that's really how the industry works today. Take the format of an original icon and reinterpret it constantly with interesting collaborations in new ways that give customers a reason to re-enter the brand. And as an example here, I show you what we've done with our Top Gun collection this year, which you see featured around OMR quite a lot as well. Top Gun is basically a pilot's watch. It's designed as an aviation watch for professionals. But today, it's become much, much more than that as a modern sports watch by making that transition from the heritage of the watch to a context today which is much more relevant to you and me and all of our clients by taking an inspiration over into an area of lifestyle. And we're really trying to balance this idea of a timeless icon with the idea of constant refreshing newness and entertainment in the content, and really making that transition of a pilot's watch based on a desert color code into a monochromatic watch, which ultimately picks up codes that are very known from streetwear, from entertainment, and really triggers something which is much more current, but it is not fashion. It's not something that goes out of fashion in 2 weeks. It's something that just brings relevance to a product that is essentially iconic and long-lasting. We've gone through different color iterations here, in the green woodland I'm wearing today, to the white Lake Tahoe, the crisp white ceramic you maybe saw on Tom Brady's wrists in Miami, and finally worked together with Pantone as a collaboration, Pantone being the engineer of color, us being the engineer of watches, and bringing these color codes together into a full collection, reinterpreting one of our classic icons. So how do we take this to the metaverse, just to close the loop? So really, for us this year, was the first version post-pandemic of going fully hybrid. Having a physical product launch in the world and in Geneva, doing a global roadshow, but also streaming from Geneva to all our clients worldwide, bringing this both to YouTube, bringing this to individual Zoom sessions, and then working together with our architect friend Hani Rashid in New York to actually create a metaverse version with an NFT drop included, so that people can really come to us at every single level. They can come to us physically, they can come to us via video, or they can come to us three-dimensionally and interactive in the metaverse. And for that, Morris, if I can have a headset, let's take a look at a clip. Look at that. Even my watch made it in here. Hey, Hani, everyone, meet Hani Rashid. He's the futuristic architect who's created all of it. So, Hani, how are you?
Hi, Chris. Yeah, great to see you here. Welcome to the IWC Metaverse space that we've created. Do you want to take a look around?
Absolutely. So here we are in the exhibition hub. It's actually the digital version of our Watches and Wonders booth in the real world, right here in the metaverse.
Yeah, our aim here was to provide a truly unique and compelling immersive virtual experience for the IWC brand. And we did this here on the spatial platform, which also acts as a portal to go to other worlds that we've created for IWC. Yeah, from here we can travel to other environments. So now I'm going to open one to the Lake Tahoe environment because I think there's someone over there waiting to meet with you, Chris.
Thanks, Hani. I see you later. Hey, Aline, is that you? I should have known I'd find you here in the snow. This is the Lake Tahoe environment, and incidentally, it's where Olympic medalist free skier Eileen Gu has actually learned skiing. Eileen, good to see you here. How are you?
Hey, Chris. Yep, it's me. So great to see you.
Hey, you too. Hey, congrats on the 3 medals at the Beijing Winter Olympics. What an amazing performance, and obviously we're super glad that you're here representing IWC. And what we're looking at here is actually the result of the shooting we did together in Paris. Looking good.
I love it. Thanks for sharing, Chris. Listen, I'd love to stay, but Hani invited me to join a tour. So I'll see you later.
Great. Have fun. See you later. Oh, another portal. Let's see what's behind here. Wouldn't be a bad idea to get out of this cold blizzard. Whew, that's better. Mojave Desert. Quite the temperature jump.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Tom. You're here as well.
Yeah. What are you looking at?
Well, that's our latest campaign. The one that you star in.
I actually prefer my look in the clip.
Yeah, but at least you're wearing the same watch. So, what do you think about our space here?
Very nice. I'm already excited to see what's coming up next.
Well, me too. Thanks to this space, I'm so thrilled to see you here and interact with you while the physical you is actually in Miami with the Bucks preparing for another season. First of all, let me say, fantastic news that you're coming back and you carry on playing. Will you actually practice later today?
Let's see. Now, first, I want to look around here a bit more.
Now, I'm actually off to see Hani and Aline. You want to join me?
Sure thing.
Hi, Aline. Hi, Hani. Since we're all here, shall we take a picture together? All right, now I'll send that to you later. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've taken up enough of your valuable time. Thank you for meeting me here. Time to leave the metaverse and return to reality. There we go. And obviously, as David mentioned, I am still a classically trained designer, so I'm looking forward to the time when the metaverse will be technically a little bit better than what it is at the moment. But what we're trying to say here is, you know, if you're making a product that is essentially designed to last forever and that is supposed to be absolutely timeless, You can use all of the different assets of brand campaigning and communication to stay relevant in an ever-changing world and to keep exploring on different fronts of engaging with new groups of customers, despite our product essentially always staying the same. When I look at where we are today in the world, I think this is a nice little summary. You know, what is it that we're creating that we're really, really passing on? What if our legacy actually stays? And, you know, if I take my kids one day and show them the Oculus Rift and say, one day, my son, this will all be yours, well, at least there might be something I can pass on that tells a story, and that is the watch I'm wearing today. Thank you very much for your attention. See you next time. And please come over and see us in Hall A1 at the IWC exhibition. Thanks a lot.